I'm last year, and a lot's been said. A lot of good questions have been asked. I very much understand and respect the boundaries that have been set before us, both in terms of policy. Some of it crosses over to the state, some of it crosses over to personnel issues, and obviously pending litigation. So I know there's not much more we can disclose here. And quite frankly, I appreciate both Chief Jones and Dr. Smith coming forward and responding to as much as they've been able to respond to. Clearly, there will need to be follow-up with regards to this specific investigation, and it's our job as an oversight body to ensure that the systems that clearly failed in this case, failed a 5-year-old little boy, are addressed in a way that's holistic, in a way that's comprehensive, in a way that has a deep-rooted impact to absolutely be sure that, for God's sakes, this never happens again. And this was before the pandemic. We have thousands of kids that are coming back into our school system that have experienced substantial social and emotional challenges this year, to the point that it's difficult for all of us to be able to entirely process, especially those of us with kids right now. And I have a 5-year-old at home. And so there's a lot obviously to unpack here, and we will continue to unpack it moving forward. But I'm just going to make a few comments, and most of those comments are mostly going to be where we go from here. But clearly this incident was totally and utterly indefensible. This is not at all consistent with my personal and professional interactions that I've had with Montgomery County Police. As the director of the Recreation Department, we ran after-school programs, the largest provider of after-school programs, and there were numerous interactions that I personally witnessed of law enforcement engaging with youth in a way that was productive, in a way that was consistent with best practices around positive youth development, and formed a team of caring adults that included school administrators, teachers, after-school workers, social workers, community-based organizations, parents, families, all working together to provide as much as support as we could for these children. And what I saw on that video was horrific. It made my stomach turn. And it even recalled an incident when I was around that age, in which we went on a school field trip, and I escaped as a 5-year-old, and it was actually a police officer that found me. I'm 45 years old now, and I still remember that incident, how traumatic it was, how scared I was being away from the adults that were responsible for taking care of me. And I still remember how caring that police officer was that responded to that case. That officer treated me with love and kindness and a level of respect that I still remember 40 years later. And I can't even imagine what I would have processed as a child then. And now as a parent, now as Councilmember Navarro said, if that were our child, how we would have reacted to that case. I've spoken to officers who feel the exact same way. And so there's obviously so much that we need to learn from this case, so much that needs to be unpacked so that people are held accountable. But I think that we can move forward from here. And I have read Councilmember Navarro's proposal, which I think has a number of excellent elements that do take into account the best possible elements of positive youth development, continuing that ecosystem and expanding it in a way that I think is going to provide a great deal of support. And I do look forward to supporting that. I have some suggestions on to add to it a little bit, which I'll talk about at a later time. But I do think we need to follow up with this session in a manner that is more appropriate for us to be able to answer questions that don't trigger some of those boundaries that, again, I believe and I understand and respect at this time. This council unanimously supported a crisis intervention enhancement at all of our police precincts that include social workers. And clearly we need a similar model within our school system. Because as I stated earlier, we're at the tip of the iceberg in terms of what our kids are going to need as they come back to school. And so I do think this is a moment for us to be able to move forward from. As I said, within an hour of seeing the video and then us serendipitously having a council session just immediately after that. And all of us, I think, were processing the video in real time. And I said then, and Councilmember Glass said now, that we are better than this. And I truly believe that. We are better than this. And so we will move forward from this as well. Thank you, Mr. Council President. I have found this to be enlightening and helpful, and I look forward to the follow-up, both with regards to this specific investigation, once there's an appropriate time and place for us to be able to get more questions answered, but even more importantly, in my opinion, how to address these systemic issues moving forward. Thank you.